It's time for this for the new chatters.
Beep, beep.
Here. Noam Chomsky, the 5 filters of mass media machine, listening posed by Al Jazeera. This is like the most condensed version of manufactured consent.
Propaganda. Many use the word when talking about countries like North Korea, Kazakhstan, Iran. Media operate through 5 filters. The first has to do with ownership. Mass media firms are big corporations. Their endgame, profit. And so it's in their interests to push for whatever guarantees that profit. Critical journalism takes second place to the needs and interests of the corporation. The second filter exposes the real role of advertising. Media costs a lot more than consumers will ever pay. So who fills the gap? Advertisers. And what are the advertisers paying for? Audiences. And so it isn't so much that the media are selling you a product, their output. They're also selling advertisers a product, you. How does the establishment manage the media? That's the third filter. Journalism cannot be a check on power because the very system encourages complicity. Governments, corporations, big institutions know how to play the media game. They know how to influence the news narrative. They feed media scoops, official accounts.
Flag is what Hasan gets for being anti-Zionist? Yes.
Interviews with the experts. They make themselves crucial to the process of journalism. So those in power and those who report on them are in bed with each other. If you want to challenge power, you'll be pushed to the margins. Your name won't be down. You won't be getting in. You've lost your access. You've lost the story. When the media, journalists, whistleblowers, sources, stray away from the consensus, they get flak. That's the fourth filter. When the story is inconvenient for the powers that be, you'll see the flak machine in action, discrediting sources, trashing stories, and diverting.
Yeah, if you can't actually critically cover the inconvenient truth, if you can't actually address the thing, if you cannot address the message, then you address the messenger. You directly hit the messenger. You say, no, this guy is bad. This is a bad person. This is not a person that deserves your charity. The anti-Semitism allegations slapped onto every single person that is critical of Israel is a perfect demonstration of this, especially someone like myself. You know what my background is. You know what my beliefs are. You know the amount of time I've spent talking specifically about anti-Semitism. And yet, so aggressively, a lot of these institutions have leaned on this notion that like, oh, I must be criticizing Israel from an anti-Semitic perspective.
The conversation. To manufacture consent, you need an enemy, a target. That common enemy is the fifth filter. Communism, terrorists, immigrants, a common enemy. A boogeyman to fear helps corral public opinion. 5 filters, one big media theory. Consent is being manufactured all around you, all the time.
This is a fantastic video, obviously, and it perfectly condenses the one of the aspects of Noam Chomsky's commentary on American media, or just Western media, capitalist media, and how it operates, with great art direction as well. Anyway, and now I figured it was good timing to explain everything you were relying on the audience, knowing that they clearly didn't. Yeah, and now let's get back with the new perspective that some of you might have gathered. Here is the Deal Book Summit that the New York Times is hosting, where it's just like a bunch of media personalities that are talking about like how badly they up and how badly they understand the current ecosystem of information dissemination. They don't get it, or they're trying to get it. They're playing catch up. Here it is.
In the Philly suburbs. And I'm telling you, we are way off. The entire political class is way off. First of all, digital is a new door knocking. Mm-hmm. You got to understand that. We were laughing our butts off at Donald Trump for suspending his door knocking campaign and letting Charlie Kirk and Elon do a bunch of stuff online. Mm-hmm. We said, these guys are idiots. These guys are stupid. Then you start knocking on these doors. You know what people come to the door with? Their phone in their hand. They're in a 24-hour digital surround sound that has nothing to do with CNN, has nothing to do with any stuff that we do. I asked my son, I got a teenage son, I asked him, who are the most influential people in the world today? I'm thinking to myself, he's going to say Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z. He says, Kai Cent, Aiden Ross, Jinxie, and Sketch. I don't know who he.
Judging by the people that he mentioned, there is a very high likelihood that Van Joe's son has seen clips of me and does not like me.
He's talking about. I said, what platforms are you on? He goes, I'm on Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. I said, that sounds like you need to go to the hospital.
Van Jones' son is a Kick watcher. Van Jones' son is a Kick watcher and a Rumble watcher. That is crazy. Van Jones, you have failed as a parent. I'm just letting you know. If your teenage son is watching Kick and Rumble, your shit is cooked. Like, if he was just to say, like, oh, I watch clips on TikTok and I see, I see these content creators on clips on TikTok or on Twitter or one thing. That's one thing. But if he's like an active Rumble watcher, holy dude.
What are these platforms? I'm telling you guys, the mainstream has become fringe and the fringe has become mainstream. There are platforms, there are people out there that are getting 14 million streams. And we're on cable news getting 1 or 2 million. And so there is a whole world out there. Kellyanne Conway, I hate to agree with her, but I do a lot of times. Donald Trump understood that and we didn't. And it's not just Democrats that don't. The entire political class is way off.
I mean, he's right. They don't understand it. They don't recognize the environment. They have no way of comprehending it. And to be fair to Van Jones here, to be fair to Mao's Third World is Van Jones. And I do want to watch like this panel. If you guys have the clip, I would like to watch this clip. But it's hard to comprehend if you're not in this environment. As someone who is in this environment, let me tell you, okay, it is vast. It is vast. It is expansive. And people have no way of comprehending how big it is. People don't understand, like, if I'm getting 60,000 live concurrent viewers, that's like 600,000 on the Nielsen ratings. I'm at the DNC with 60K live concurrent viewers. That's a fucking reputable TV network. Like, that is a straight up sizable TV network, especially for the demographics. 60K to 600K. Yes. The way that television Nielsen ratings work is unique viewership across the board in an hour from Nielsen TV homes that they extrapolate this data from, okay? Live concurrent viewership translated to Nielsen metrics would be anywhere from 5x to 10x. This is the reason why, for example, while I had 314,000 concurrents on my election night coverage, I had 7.5 million unique viewers. But yeah, this is a bunch of old people trying to comprehend how much they, how they lost. And the other side of it is that, like, not only is it sizable, but also it's a demographic that is far more important to tap into. A demographic that simply does not watch any television whatsoever. It is the 18 to 35 demographic. The 18 to 35-year-old demographic is the demographic that I have. And that is a demo that does not watch TV. They don't have cable. I don't have cable. I'm in that demo. I have never had cable. In August, The Bulwark told me it noticed a large portion of its growing YouTube audience was watching its podcasts and clips on TV. Today, YouTube reported that people are watching 400 million hours of podcasts monthly on TVs. Another way pods have displaced cable news and talk shows. Yeah. And this is still playing catch up. Twitch and live streaming is at the forefront. And I would say that right now, even at this stage, live streaming is where podcasts were in like 2015. When I was a avid podcast listener in 2014, 2015, I would try to describe to people how important this space was for media, how it was a replacement of mainstream media. And people would look at me like I'm out of my mind. Because at that time, it's impossible to imagine, but like the early 2010s, like podcasts were first forming. It was the Wild West, right? And for many of you might have actually, many of you, if you're old enough like me, probably started watching podcasts back then. And at that point, most people in traditional media would look at that and go, who gives a shit about this? You know, who cares? Who cares about fucking podcasts? What are you talking about? Oh, it's just like radio, but more accessible. Oh, who cares? And now podcasts in and of itself are a force to be reckoned with. Now they understand the importance of podcasts, but they're still playing catch up because right now the next wave of content is both in short form and in live streaming. And there is a relationship between short form content and live streaming in general. And that's entirely too complicated for these guys to understand. They will not catch up to the live streaming environment, I guess, until it's like 2030s at this rate. If it took them basically 10 years to recognize the importance of podcasts, because they're now officially cognizant of the importance of podcasts, they're still going to, it's going to take them another at least 5 to 6 years for them to catch up to where live streaming is in this entire field. Viewers watch over 400 million hours of podcasts monthly on living room devices. The share of videos uploaded to YouTube in 4K is up by 35% year over year. Early tests of the streamlined subscribe button show more than a 40% increase in net subscribers to their TVs. Watch time of sports content on TV grow 30% year over year. The Ms. Rachel channel had one of the highest watch times on TV across YouTube channels in the last year. But is there parallels to be drawn between live TV and live streaming? Not necessarily, because most leftists online are critical of them, of course they're going to ignore y'all love. Yeah, but the problem is the Republicans don't ignore their base. Structurally, the Republicans run towards their base. They're afraid of their base. The Democratic Party does not do that. They do the opposite. They hate their base. They run away from their base. And they treat their base like shit. But also on top of that, this is the reason why Republicans can go into where their base is and talk to the people that are even apolitical. Democrats can't do that. If I'm one of the largest leftist content creators, one of the largest progressive content creators in North America, and I am diametrically opposed in my worldview to many of the figureheads in the Democratic Party, the way to change that is not by trying to get me to be a loyal servant of the Democratic Party. The way to change that is by the Democratic Party changing its attitude. I agree with you, but don't you think that your numbers might be a little misleading with this, since you have people watching from all around the world? Only part is American? Yes, but the part that is American is so massive. And no, you might be a little bit of a boomer if you're looking at podcast numbers being inflated and then saying that it doesn't have the same motion as I am 22. Okay, well, you have a boomer ass mentality around this. The party needs to come to where the people are, not the other way around. It will not work and will never work. Even if you are a willing servant of the DNC, you're not going to magically make people love the DNC. Exactly. There is one political party that has figured out how important political streams are. Do you know who I'm thinking of? What? You mean the Republicans, right? Is that what you're saying? Or are you talking about AMLO and Morena? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, AMLO himself sidestepped a contentious media environment by becoming the media himself. There is a lot of value to that. For sure. I joke and say I'm the largest leftist content creator in North America, but the real person, that honor actually goes to AMLO. He is the one with his daily live streams. It's true. But anyway, let's get back to Donald Trump. Times Magazine. Yeah, AMLO's morning conference totaled 2,505 hours of streaming, equivalent to 3.4 months of continuous broadcasting. I like AMLO, but that's just state media by another name. Yes, it is. But guess what? A lot of private media is owned by liberal capitalists. So if you want to sidestep that because they're going to be unnecessarily contentious to everything that you do and constantly shit on you, then use the environment where there is so much hatred towards mainstream media to your advantage by making your own version of this. Yeah, Mexican media is owned by 3 families. That's how it is in every country, by the way. They have invisible incentives. Like our media environment has invisible incentives that unite them. That's why a lot of the messaging that you see on mainstream outlets, regardless of how diverse this environment seems, is pretty united on certain issues like foreign policy, pretty united on deregulation, pretty united on like talking about healthcare CEOs, for example, if we're going to use this past week. And sometimes you have to sidestep that. Sometimes you have to become your own communicator. Well, you say that, and look who were on CNN last night. 3 former Fox News personalities on CNN Newsnight this evening. Yeah. FBI director resigned before Trump takes office. Julie Virginsky, Democrat strategist. Gretchen Carlson, journalist and co-founder of Lift Our Own Voices, and Geraldo Rivera, journalist. All 3 are former Fox News personalities now on CNN.